Welcome back to First View. I'm joined again by Layla White, CEO and founder of Tech Passport. Um, we had this is the second video, so if you've missed the first one, there's a link down here. You can have a look and click on that. You hear all about what Layla's been creating. So Layla, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
So, what I'm really interested to find out a little bit about your journey through all of this. I happen to know that you started before you started Tech Passport. You were working in sort of regulation in finance, and you had a pretty high paying job, and you traded it all in. You gave it up, and impoverished yourself to create a new entity. Can you just sort of how did you get there?
Um, I think, like a lot of founders, it's experience and it's seeing a gap and thinking, I want to address that. So I worked across banks for many years. I was a contractor. I loved my experiences. I had excellent experiences in all of the financial institutions, and maybe I can name them, but I'm giving them praise now. So across Deutsche Bank, Lloyds, HSBC. I worked with amazing people, and I learned so much. I was very lucky to be brought into discussions and projects that were really interesting and getting exposure from top down. Um, and I was in HSBC and I thought, I can see a gap here and I wonder if I can fix this, or I wonder if I can address it. Um, and that's how it started. So 5.5, nearly 6 years ago, I decided to take the plunge. Little did I know COVID would hit not soon after, or not that long after. But I think like a lot of founders, it's I want to do something different. I want to do something better. Kind of feeling is still there.
Yeah.
Even after all this time, it's still that kind of push and that desire to change things, and to add different values, and feel like I'm um, part of something a bit different. And I think that's primarily the drive, really.
It's very brave to throw that in. I've often talked about it. You almost get yourself into a wealth trap where you're earning so much that you can't stop it, and jumping out of that is actually such a big thing. And you can see that a lot of founders are often in their 20s. They begin early, and it's I think there's no um, mistaking it. They're not in that wealth trap. Then you're not giving up much by starting that way. But it's so very different when you're older, when you're earning well, and you have family, you've got responsibilities. All of a sudden, to cut your income is very, very brave.
I don't know if it's brave, maybe, maybe a bit stupid.
Foolish,
I mean,
maybe.
I definitely have my children asking on a regular basis, Mama, weren't you in a really well paid job? Why did you do this? I think that, yeah, I think you're right. I think that there are a couple of things that not so many women go off and start their own companies. I think that's fair to say. There is definitely, certainly whilst I've been a founder, there are these kind of regular pushes to sort of say, how do we get more women into becoming entrepreneurs? And I think, David, a part of that is, as a mum, especially, like, one, can I take on any more? I'm already doing lots, and can I put my family through it? And how can I juggle all of this? I think that um, I certainly didn't go into it on my own. My then husband, that's probably an indicator as to what's happened over the past few years. But my then husband and I sat down and talked about it, and I said, I'd like to give this a go. And I was fortunate that I had early investment from someone who knew me. They invest in you, not your product. It's about the person. But taking that leap, being really transparent for the first couple of years, was exceptionally hard financially. I had no salary coming in. We racked up a load of debt together, just paying bills. And then eventually I started to get a salary. But as you know, as many people know, a founder salary is minimal. And I kind of understand it to an extent. Investors, especially when you get investors, they want to make sure that you're not just taking money from them, and they want to make sure that you're incentivized. But it's a hard balancing act as well, because we're trying to balance out, well, I'm now down at the lowest I can possibly go, and I still have bills coming in. You know, we look at inflation and, you know, mortgage rates going up, for example, and children and their needs. It is difficult, and yet here I remain. But I think it's for me as well. It's, I saw a problem that I wanted to address. That problem's still there. There are more problems that have come in that I want to address. They're growing. I had the support of amazing investors throughout the past few years, particularly the first one, that I feel indebted to on a personal level, to be able to give him back and all of my investors that and more. And then I have these two girls at home. And whether I like it or not, I'm their role model. You know, they look to me, and I need to be able to show them, if you want something, you believe in it, you've got to work hard for it. You know, and you can't see it, but on our board in our kitchen here, it's lyrics from Eminem, but they're so poignant, because it's, you only get one shot, do not miss the chance to blow, you know. I think, you know, for me as a mum, it's an important part of who I am, in terms of like growing them and making sure they understand you can be part of something bigger. You can choose your own direction, but you've got to work for it every single day, and you've got to show up every single day.
So you're 5 years into it. You are actually, you're making revenue now. So that helps, yeah, the whole thing, and you're still doing it. So something's going right in all of this.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's, perhaps as an early stage founder, what people misunderstand is maybe how long it will take. And especially when you're selling into financial institutions and big ones as well, like, it's a long process. I wasn't blind to it, because I've been on the other side for so many years, so I understood that it would take a long time. But there are times I'm thinking, wow, it actually, you know, it took a really long time. It took a lot from me on many levels. But I think, you know, I spoke to other founders that have been very successful, and there's like a turning point, and that use case just clicks into place. And that's what keeps me there, because I'm like, I know there's something here, and I know I just need to find that right point. And yeah, we've hit that. And I think it's, even throughout this process, when it's been hard, I've always maintained that, I mean, I wouldn't like losing David, just be clear. But, and I don't think anyone does. And I think probably founders especially don't like losing. But I think it's that I will come away from this having learned so much more. And that is something you can't get anywhere else. You know, I would never have got from any other career path that I've taken, and the value that I can bring in different parts of my life. But yeah.
Yeah, certainly the first few years, you must have had moments when you go, why am I doing this? What am I doing? How did you keep yourself going? What did you tell yourself in, yeah, when you go to bed at night, just thinking, I'm going to give up, and then but you get up. How did you get yourself back on track?
Multiple times, multiple times. One that sticks out, I'm going to be really vulnerable here. I remember being in bed and crying at the weekend, like, I can't do this. What have I done? You know, financially, it's really hard. Like 14, 15-hour days, working endlessly. I mean, when I started, Lana was 4, Lydia was 7. Like, they were really, really young, during lockdown. And this particular point, I remember my oldest, Lydia, coming up, and I was crying. She's like, "What's wrong, Mama?" And I said, I can't do this anymore, sweetheart. And she sat up and she said, "Yes, you can, Mama. Yes, you can, Mama." And it stuck with me, you know. And there've been times when I'm like, I can't do it, and I always cast my mind back to that. She's like, "You've done so well." She was probably like 8, you know, 8
Yeah.
or 9. And it's that which pushes me. And I've always got this mantra in my head. I did triathlons years ago. I wasn't very good at it. I was very slow, but I did it. You know, I was like, I'm going to show up every day. And I had 2 young children and I was working. But this mantra in my head, it's like, you've come this far. Why would you stop now? Why would you? But there's this other piece, as I alluded to, but the piece that sticks with me is, overall, this desire to fix this challenge, the core challenge of making it easier for financial institutions to consume services from other founders like me is really, really important. And so this new product that we have with operational resilience all feeds into that, because it's all about validating the supplier that you're buying from. So it's a key part of it. And I think that's becoming more and more prominent, but it's something that founders and suppliers need to be aware of. They have to have ready as part of their artillery in order to be able to be successful.
Yeah. You referred to a couple of times. You seem to have a very clear and very determined vision of what it is that you wanted to do. As in the journey, have you found that you've had to pivot? Have you had to change that? Has it evolved as
Yeah.
you've developed?
Yeah, and I think it's I think for early stage founders who read books will probably have read about it. Um, it's they're talking about pivoting, talking about changing at the right time, talking about not sitting still. And it's not until you really go through it that you fully understand. And one of the things that can destroy a startup is just to keep going straight, to not be aware of changing factors around you and say, nope, we're on this path and that's it, we're sticking. You have to be aware of your surroundings all the time, and when you have to make changes, when you have to adapt. And that's one of the key things and beneficial things about being a startup, is that you can be adapted quickly. And so for us, we've not pivoted away completely. We still have this data set. We still have this market that's free for founders and startups and companies to register their information on our marketplace. And we've got a lot of excellent data on there where our clients are using. But we saw that supply chain based requirements also meant this regulatory piece. And so we thought, right, we're going to pivot towards this as well and make sure that we're protected. But what's coming out of it, David, is like it's so compelling and it's so important. And the thing that's good for me is I don't have to let go of that North Star, because it's another element of that North Star. And I think having been a founder and gone through this whole process of owning a company, not having any money, the stresses of it, I mean, it's a roller coaster being a founder. My drive is, if I can make this easier for founders, not just women, but anybody, to be able to start their companies and to be successful, that's where I feel that I'm winning. That's where I feel that I'm giving back. And that when I achieve that, that's when I say I've been successful.
Yeah. It's an extraordinary amount of personal resilience to get through some of these things. And there's just the emotion of running a company is up and down. When you're starting something up and big as you were, and trying to work, is it going to succeed? Is it not going to succeed? You know, I've just run up a whole load of debts, and am I ever going to be able to pay them back? Yeah, that's really that's pretty extreme.
It is. And I think I mean, I touched on the point of my ex-husband. I would say I'm exceptionally fortunate that we have a good relationship. We've got, 2 years into separation. My children are really grounded. We've worked really, really hard at making sure they have a stable environment, that I have a good relationship with him, and the children are front and center. My mum was declared as having leukemia at the back end of last year. But I think, David, these things happen in life, and you can either choose to run away from them and abandon everything, or you can face them and you lean on the support that's around you, and you become a bit more grounded. I think is really important. And you asked as well what keeps me going. Actually, a big part of it is my mum, like a huge part. And when she's doing okay, like she's getting treatment. I've got amazing family around me. My team is phenomenal, which has been great. But when my mum was in hospital before she moved in with me, she said, "Do not drop the ball." And she was really, really weak at the time, but she pointed to me. She said, "Do not drop the ball. Do not drop the ball with your children, and do not drop the ball with the company." And I promised her, and I haven't. And it's an important thing. These things happen in life, and I could choose to go, you know what, it's too much, I can't deal with all of this. Or I can make sure that I'm propped up and supported, and I'm supporting other people who are important to me. And I say nothing's changed, head down. Because if I was in work, I'd still have to work if I wasn't working for Tech Passport. But these things are sent to test us.
I think you've been severely tested in loads of different. in this in this journey. It's like the world's throwing problems and issues at you, and you're lapping them up. You know, it's just as well you're in resiliency.
Mm. I don't know about lapping it up, but I think,
Maybe
I
that's the
think,
wrong word. It's not
yeah,
that, you know,
bless you. No, I guess
dealing
that.
with
But,
them.
but I think this is, like you said earlier, a lot of founders maybe go into this when they're 20s and they don't have as much pressure on them financially. um, as I do, someone who's over 30 now. I mean, we're just over 30, David, obviously. Um, but, these issues around us and family, they are ever increasing, and it's just part of life. And for me, it's been a tough period. But as I say, I'm exceptionally fortunate to have an amazing team. My COO, Paul, is phenomenal. Is definitely my partner in crime. And being honest, he runs the company. I report to him pretty much. But it's, if you have that right structure around you and you have people you trust and people who want to see the same kind of outcome, we're rooting for the same thing, then there's every opportunity for success. But it's that mental attitude and staying strong, but also being humble as well and grounded about it.
Yeah. So it's a $1 million question. If you had your time again, would you do it again?
If you'd asked me a few years ago, I would have said absolutely not. Never, never, never. But right now, yeah, 100%. It's a
It's
lot.
been worth it.
Yeah, it took a while to get there, being really honest. But yeah, and despite, everything that's happened on a personal level, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's up and round and lots of different paths. But yeah, wouldn't change it.
That's great to hear. So let me just finish with it's always asking about advice. I mean, there's a whole lot of people out there from different age groups who would love to be able to start up their own thing. Can you offer them any advice? What would you say? Don't do it, or
Get a really good counsellor. um, Go for it. And I think I'd love to see more women coming into this, but I fully, fully appreciate it's a lot for mums in particular to consider, a hell of a lot. I think if you can have the support around you and the guidance, it this you're always going to get guidance and support, and I found anyway from other founders, which is fantastic. But I think if you can have that support at home as well, it's really, really important, like super important, because it's not just the technical piece and setting up and running a company, and not just the financial piece, it's the emotional piece as well, which is really, really important. But make sure you know, you've bought into it. You've got that support from every single angle going into it. But if you're in your 20s, go for it. I mean, gosh, I had no responsibilities or anything, any cares for the world when I was in my 20s. But yeah, go for it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
yeah, very true. Yeah, that's a most extraordinary story, and thank you for coming on and sharing it with us. It's fantastic to see you coming out the back out of the back of that and become and post revenue and being successful. And you've just done another capital raise, so things are looking good, and it's fantastic to see.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.